everyone. Welcome back to Keeping Up with the Chaldeans. I'm Junior Binno, your host, along with my man Anthony Toma, my co-host. And today we have Mr. Clarence Dass of the Dass Law Firm. Today we're helping this gentleman shoot for the Oakland County Circuit Court Judge seat. He is a former Oakland County prosecutor. He's been in the courts for a long time and understands the needs and wants of our community, along with the community itself in Oakland County. This gentleman has fought a lot of battles in court, and today, later on in the episode, you'll hear one of his biggest battles that he's had outside the courtroom and what got him through it. Today, we welcome you, Mr. Dass. We'll ready to shoot you off and let you know why we're going to get you on the seat, and if you can explain to the people exactly what it is that you do and what we're here for today. Good to have you.
Great to be here. I really appreciate it. Anthony, it's great to be here with you too. I think, first of all, you guys deserve a lot of credit because this is such an amazing production that you guys do all the time.
Thank you.
And to preserve our community's reputation and livelihood, this is a really integral part of that. So you guys deserve credit. But I'm very happy to be here. So like you mentioned, I'm now in my third phase of my career, which is trying to be a judge.
Sure.
But the first two phases of my career were on the other side of the equation. So for 5 years, I was a prosecutor in Oakland County. I was in something called the Special Victims Unit. Most people have heard of that because they watch Law and Order or watch the news.
Yep.
That was a unit of the prosecutor's office that prosecuted the most serious crimes in Oakland County.
Most heinous crimes.
Absolutely. Yep. Rape, child abuse, elder abuse, and even murder. And I did that for 5 years. That was probably the best job I ever had. I loved it. But what ends up happening to you after you see so much bad stuff like that is you want to really make a difference. And you want to prevent people from becoming the defendant sitting in court.
Sure.
So in 2016, I left. I started my law firm, the Dass Law Firm. I started in Southfield in a small little office by myself.
Yep.
And then one big thing happened during that time, which is the deportation crisis struck our community.
Right.
And I ended up being the very first lawyer to get involved in that crisis. One of my clients was the first person detained that day in 2017.
Wow.
So,
bless you, man.
well, I appreciate that. It was a long fight, and a lot of people got involved, and we ended up, obviously as a team community effort, saving everybody from that. But my little law firm that was one office ended up growing, and now I'm in Bloomfield Township in my own space with staff, and we've been serving the community my whole life, but as a lawyer for 10 years now.
Wow.
I'm running for judge because I've been a prosecutor, I've been a defense attorney. You mentioned my personal experiences. What you need in a judge is somebody who understands what it's like to be the person in front of you.
Right.
Too often we have judges, I think, that haven't walked the walk and lived the life that the people come in front of them are. But I know what it's like to be the victim of a crime because I was a prosecutor. I know what it's like to be the person charged with the crime. And I also know what it's like to be the person fighting for their life because I've done that, and we'll talk about that.
Sure, and that's great. And now the seat that you're looking to take on, what exactly does a circuit court judge do? What do they provide to the court system?
That's a great question. So in Michigan, we have 4 levels of court. We have the district court, most local level. Then we have the circuit court, then court of appeals, and Supreme Court. The circuit court basically hears felonies, which are very serious crimes. It also hears business disputes that are above $25,000. And it also handles divorces and child custody cases and probate cases when you're trying to get your parents or your kids' guardianships. It's the general court for the entire county.
Sure.
Everyone in Oakland County is part of the Oakland County Circuit Court, and everyone can vote for the Oakland County Circuit Court in November.
Nice. And that's what we're looking to do today, is to be able to help gain the votes to get you onto that seat itself. And when when you do, you, like you said, have the personal experience and you empathize and have the understanding of what that can be done to help provide it. What's some of the stuff you're doing right now to gain some of the traction, and what is the message that you have with your campaign right now for the viewers to know?
So I started probably 6 to 8 months ago thinking about this. I hired a campaign manager that has done essentially all the judicial campaigns in Oakland County.
Yep.
He's been very successful, and I got him really early, and he's someone I talk to every day for about 2 hours, guiding me and talking to me about what I need to do. His name is Alan Foyer.
Okay.
Alan Foyer, and he's done a lot of candidates that our community has supported too. So that's something that's very helpful to know. But my job, 8:30 to 5, is being a lawyer, and from 5 to 10 every night, I'm traveling to a different city or 2 or 3 sometimes in the county, and I'm giving a speech. I'm telling my story. It's all about people recognizing you, knowing who you are, and feeling like they can trust you. And in our community, I have a great reputation, but I'm also fortunate that the entire Oakland County legal community knows me because I was a prosecutor.
Sure.
So I ended up getting the endorsement of several of the key judges in the county. I have the endorsement of the chief judge of the family division there, Judge Mary Ellen Brennan. I have the support of the incumbent judge who's retiring, Judge Jim Alexander. And I now have the support, which is I'm really excited about, is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, which is Bridget Mary McCormick.
Wow.
And she's endorsed me. So
Congrats.
we've really gotten support from everyone on the inside, and now I'm talking to everybody who can vote and the people who this job will affect every day.
Sure.
So the seat's being vacated. How many people are running for the seat?
There's 4 people total right now that are talking about it. I say talking about it because April 21st is the deadline for us to get signatures. We have to
okay.
get 4,000 signatures across the county, and whoever gets 4,000 signatures gets on the ballot. So all of us are kind of in a race right now to get the signatures, turn them in on
It's
April
not
21st.
first. It's not who gets them first. It's anyone that gets the full
Absolutely,
4,000.
absolutely.
Okay.
So we have to get them by April 21st, and so whoever gets them gets on the ballot.
And how do our viewers help you and get you a signature? Get their signature
So
signed.
one thing that's really helpful is we can give you a sheet, and all you have to do is contact me, or they can contact maybe you guys, and each sheet has 14 names. I always say, if we know 14 people, and as Chaldeans we know 14 times 100 people,
Right.
that will take care of it. So all you need is one sheet, get your family, your friends to sign it, and then send it back to me, and then that'll get us on the ballot.
Okay.
I mean, I have more than 4,000 Facebook friends.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if there's some events coming up that we could probably get you a lot of signatures.
I would love
in
to
our
do that.
community.
Yeah.
I wish we would have known, like, especially with the social network
Yeah,
event
yeah.
we did and stuff, we could have had that on deck
Yeah,
and
there's
had
a
a few
few
hundred
hundred
just for
people
right
there.
there.
Well, keep me updated. I'll be there.
Definitely.
We got
Yeah.
you. We got you.
Thank
We
you.
know we're going to be attending some with you, also that are going to be coming up in the near future, with the other people that are running also for other parts of congressional district and all that. That's coming up from like Erica's Hockey and others that are going to be doing it. So it seems like you guys are all supporting one another,
Absolutely.
which is great. That's a big thing. We love seeing Chaldeans to be able to be as part of that, right? Because the
Yeah.
judicial system, it's huge. It's a big part of it. From whether it's business, like you said, you could be handling related issues from money transactions that have gone wrong and all that.
And we want as many fair people in
Yep.
sitting on the judges' seats as possible. Just fair. It doesn't have to be.
That's the key. I mean, so I always get this question about, are you a Republican, are you a Democrat, are you a prosecutor, are you a defense attorney? And what I always tell people is, first of all, it's nonpartisan, and we keep it like that because I don't want someone to come in front of me as a judge and say, he's only doing this because he's this party,
Right.
or I'm this party. We want fairness in the judiciary. But also, because I've had both sides of the equation, I am pretty fair. I represent people every day that get charged with a crime,
Absolutely.
but I've also put those people in jail.
Right.
And I know what it's like to do that.
Sure. Now, Clarence, you've been from Oakland County prosecutor and now back onto attorney in your firm. You taking this seat on, what's the difference you are going to make being part of that seat now that you make the difference to the community?
So I think one really important part of this is there's not much diversity on the Oakland County Circuit Court right now. You have only less than a handful of minorities on the bench.
Okay.
I really believe that
How many judges in total?
you have anywhere in the different divisions, you have anywhere between 20 and 30 judges total in the whole court.
Okay.
It's in the teens on the actual circuit court. On the general circuit court, you're in the
Okay.
teens, okay? And you probably only have maybe 3 minorities that are sitting on the bench.
Wow.
Hala Jarbo from our community is one of those people, but Hala actually may be leaving and doing something else.
Okay.
She may be getting a different position soon, which I'll let her talk about when she's ready to talk about it.
Yeah. Sure.
But if she leaves, there's no Chaldeans on the bench, and every day I walk into the court and I see Chaldeans in the court for whatever reason they're there
Sure.
for. We need someone that reflects the community, and just broader than Chaldeans, Oakland County. Oakland County is the most diverse county right now
Yeah.
in the area. We have every walk of life, every ethnicity. I want someone to walk into a courtroom and see someone that looks like them and feel comfortable in a courtroom. As you guys know, no one wants to go to court. Half the time people are scared to go to court.
Right.
If they feel comfortable with the person sitting up there, then we have a better system as a result.
Yeah.
Sure. And when you mean by comfortable, you're not meaning there's a favoritism. It's just more like when I go out of town or anywhere else, when I see a fellow Chaldean person up there, it just gives me that acknowledgement of relaxation.
Yeah.
We can connect in a sort of way. So you're looking to make that diversity change itself. What's some of the things that you've seen in the past, like in cases or anything in regards to the courts, that you would maybe take a different twist on if you end up in that seat itself?
Great question. So I think one of the things I learned as a prosecutor is we don't have to send everybody to jail all the time. You know,
Yes.
some people need to go to jail. They
Yeah.
deserve to go to jail, and
Yep.
I've seen those people. But there's a lot of ways judges can make an impact on someone's life without sending them to jail.
Yeah.
We have treatment courts for people who are addicted to drugs or addicted to alcohol. We have veterans courts. If you're a veteran, you're not going to think the same way that another person is going to think because you've been through a different experience.
Yeah.
We have a court for you. We have something called adult treatment court. That's for people who are dealing with maybe substance abuse issues and
Sure.
things like that. But a judge is the one
These
that,
are in place now?
they're in place now, but judges don't necessarily use them.
Oh, wow.
And so you need judges who understand that someone's life is in my hands. And if I think that you're a young person or somebody that can be rehabilitated, I'm not going to send you to jail. I'm going to send you to a program and hopefully keep you out of the system in the future.
Yeah, that would
Yep.
be great.
Yeah, there's a few of them like Hope Not Cuffs, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that.
That's
that
a
are
great
out there.
organization.
Yep, they do that and help out with that. But again, like what you're saying that I take on a liking to is you're the person with the discretionary like opportunity to make that difference. Not every person is going to come to you and because they've done opiates and all that other stuff, you're somewhat sending them to their deathbed when they get to the jail because when they come out things go wrong. Are you going to be strongly a part of all that? Because opiate addiction has hit our community heavily, and all communities, right? Not just Chaldeans itself. So besides the hopes and handcuffs, how do you treat that? Like, how do you deal with it? I come to you and I've had an addiction. I broke into somewhere to help my addiction. How do you help that in that manner?
So I think that the point you mentioned earlier, which is sending someone addicted to anything to jail,
Sure.
only creates a bigger problem. First of all, it creates a withdrawal, and then it doesn't solve the underlying problem. So what I would do if I were judge is, and every case is obviously different, but if it's someone that needs the help, we're going to get them into maybe an inpatient program that's intense. So it's not jail, but it's rehabilitation for you.
Sure.
Because ultimately what I want is after 30, 60, or 90 days for you to get out and you have to kick this addiction.
Right.
But as we probably all know, addictions aren't a temporary thing, they're lifelong.
Right.
So we need to get you into long-term care, long-term programs. As judge, I can only keep you on my dime for a certain
Right.
period of time.
Right.
But if I do my job correctly the first time, hopefully that works for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Nice. So Clarence, these signatures that are needed, when do they all need to be filled in by to get you onto the ballot? How soon do we need to get those?
The
forms
deadline
out?
for all of us is April 21st. I really want to get these done by the end of March because
Okay.
then I'll know how many I have, how many more I need.
Where are you at now? Like, how many do you have now?
We're about 3,000 right now.
Oh,
We're about
okay.
3,000.
All right,
So
great. So look, the
So
final
between
stretch.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say between you and I'm sure we can help them enough to. You
Final
got a few,
stretch.
yeah.
yeah, if your
stretch.
staff here can do it, that's one sheet right there that goes.
Sure.
That one.
Yeah.
So anyone can do it. It's a really easy way to be part of the campaign. And by the way, those are all voters. And when you sign that, we're essentially getting you on board on our team too. And so then we can get back in touch with you and tell you more about the campaign.
Awesome.
Nice. And do you work a lot with the police department itself? Is that going to be part of yourself? Because there's a lot of need of open dialogue between the police officers and the court systems and the people that are falling into these matters. You know, so is that something your team itself would be open to, or is that what you do? itself?
Absolutely. So I'm expecting that we're going to announce endorsements for from law enforcement officials.
Okay.
I can't share them right now because
Sure.
we're still talking
Not
about
there
it.
yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I expect some high-ranking law enforcement officials are going to support me for this position because I was a prosecutor. And of all the people running in this race, I'm the only person that's been both a prosecutor and a defense attorney.
Sure.
So that really means something to them. But I agree. I started a program called Bagels for Badges a few years ago,
Okay.
where we would take bagels to police departments just to make them
Healthier than
feel
donuts.
well, that's true. That's true. But there's National Law Enforcement Appreciation Week, and I've done everything I can to support them. Police officers are humans like anyone. They make
Absolutely.
mistakes like anyone.
Sure.
And I respect law enforcement, and I need our community to know that law enforcement isn't really out there to get them,
Right.
but more dialogue between them will make people feel better about that.
Nice. And I think that would be great too. You know, like 'cause the biggest thing is that, law is not our enemy, right?
Right.
And that's the biggest thing that we want to be able to see is that it's not.
Without law, we're lost. Or it'd be shambles.
Right. What distinguishes the United States from the country all of our parents came
Yeah.
from and anywhere is that we have a rule of law that has
Rule of law,
survived.
yeah.
That it doesn't matter who you are, how much money you have, or what gender you are. You're going to get treated according to the law the right
Yeah,
way.
we all agree. Anyone that's law-abiding agrees that we run our lives based on these laws that's what keeps us civil.
Yeah, at the end of
And
the day,
anyone that breaks the law doesn't need to be in the community.
no, it doesn't matter what skin
Yeah.
color, race, or whatever it is.
Exactly.
It's you're doing wrong by it, And that's a big thing too. Like Anthony's saying, if the case being, it doesn't matter if it's one of our own that's selling this stuff or doing this stuff or hurting people or any of that stuff or causing situations. Now, how do you take your Oakland County prosecution? Like you went through, like in my opinion, that's kind of like a mental hell in a way. Like right, you were dealing with some major crimes, right, at that time. How do you twist that and then turn it to be now Oakland County Circuit Judge? How does that change? How do you embrace that change?
Well, one thing you develop as a prosecutor is essentially relationships with everyone on the inside of the system. So you know what police officers are like, you know what a probation officer is like, you know what a judge is like, you know what a defense attorney is like. That's in my opinion the best experience to be judge, is to have been a prosecutor at some point, because you're handling 50 to 75 cases every day. You learn every case that's possible. You're sitting on your feet all the time.
Yeah.
I've had defendants, when I was prosecuting in the Special Victims Unit, cuss me out in the middle of the court case. I've had to have police officers walk me to my car because I'm wondering whether a gang is going to show up there. I know what that struggle's like, but because I've seen literally everything from a traffic ticket to a murder, that's prepared me now to be judge. Now I know what's going on. I know how the process works. I know what the solutions are, and now I can use that to help people versus just punishing them.
Yep.
Can a judge carry a firearm?
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that some of this stuff, it's just so that because the viewers may not know your history, I think some of this stuff may be I believe it's instilled from your father. Your father was old school, the 7 Mile Woodward area doctor, right? So
Absolutely.
A lot of people may know that name from Dr. Dass back in the days, right? And he's moved out obviously since then. So what has he taught you that you're now carrying on with his legacy with this?
No, I appreciate that. So my dad was really one of the very first Chaldean doctors in the state, and he settled in the 7 Mile area where our community came. And then when our community left, he went to Oak Park, where our community went. And actually, he never left Oak Park. He's still in Oak Park.
Oh, nice.
And he is still, in my opinion, a community doctor, someone that cares deeply about the community. He's had ups and downs and fighting for this community all the time. But one thing he taught me is, first of all, you never ever forget who you are, where you came from.
Yep.
So no matter what I've done, even though my firm has really been successful, I took on those deportation cases because it was my community, not because I had to or because I don't even do immigration law. I just got into it because I knew that could have happened to any of us sitting here if we didn't have the right person advocating for us. So that's one thing he taught us. But another thing he taught us is, because we're Chaldean, oftentimes we have to work double or triple as hard to get taken seriously by the rest of the world.
Yep.
That's something I deal with all the time when I'm running for judge. People will see me and they'll see that I'm not necessarily a traditional Caucasian person. And they'll ask questions about it. And the minute I start talking to them and they're like, oh, wait, this person was a prosecutor, this person was a defense lawyer, I can trust this person. He always taught me to never give up on what you believe in, because any of us wouldn't be here if we gave up. We all have a history, and that history's driven us to get to where we are.
You know,
and your dad's, go ahead.
I was gonna say I've never understood, and if you can explain it to me, and maybe the viewers do have an idea and some don't, but why don't we get recognized as a minority? Like why do we have to mark ourselves as white, and then underneath it we have to put Chaldean? Since we are a minority, realistically, we're only a few 100,000 throughout the whole United States. So what's the reason behind that, if you can shed light on that?
So my honest reason is, and it's one thing that my dad talks about all the time, and I often talk about, is unfortunately what happens in our community, I think, is we're so disunited oftentimes. And when we are pure disunited to government, and we're disunited to the rest of the world, then we become smaller as a community. So then we become Chaldeans, or only Assyrians, or Syriacs, or you're from this village or that village or whatever. And suddenly what we could have is 1 million people becomes 200 people that are this, and 100 people that are this. And so we haven't gotten the numbers to the government that we should have. We've been calling, and I think you guys do it too, it doesn't matter what we feel about the president or Congress or whatever. We are all one community.
Absolutely.
And other minority communities, the Muslim community, the Jewish community, the African American community, know that solidarity is what gets you strength. And that's, I think, part of the problem. There's other things too, but that's really it. We need to put aside our cultural differences and understand that if we don't stick together, what happened to our community in Iraq with ISIS could very well happen to us. There's nothing stopping people from attacking us. We could be lumped in like any group if we need to.
Awesome point. Now, people always ask Anthony, now, why do you guys do this? What is your angle at what you're doing, and why you're doing it? And we always say is because you have strength in numbers, right? And if you take that strength in numbers away, you're basically disassembling us that much more. So him and I were talking a few days ago, and I didn't even really know about the whole Syriac, Assyrian.
I was calling them Assyriacs.
Yeah, Listen, it's just because of what we're raised and taught on. First generation here, you're just Chaldean along the whole way. But at the end of the day, I asked a very prominent person in our community, I said, what is the major difference, or what is this? He said, there is none. We are one. Just like you just said.
Yeah,
we were all Assyrian at one.
Assyrian, we started, Assyrian Babylonians.
We're all from the same area. We're all from the same community. These names and titles came about for political reasons at one point. But and I don't even have a problem with the names. I more so have a problem with us acting like we're not the same people.
Right.
When we're acting like that, how do you think the rest of the world's going to look at us?
Well, I think it's because of lack of education. It's not that we feel are different or want to be different. We just believe that we are different, but we are not.
Exactly.
We're not at all.
Exactly.
Even our dialect is, it's all there. We're able to mash as one.
So we talked about your dad and him pushing you, and so he pushed you to get educated, and he pushed your sisters to get educated. And you want to shout your sisters out and give them a
so my sisters I'm very proud of them. My sister's Dr. Kathleen Dass. She's an allergist. And then my younger sister is about to be a cardiologist. She's Dr. Clarence Dass. I'm super proud of them. My wife's also a doctor. I don't know how I became a lawyer, but
Someone's
they are
got to defend them from their malpractice.
Absolutely. That's the joke I always make. But they are for women in our community to constantly be achieving higher ground is a great thing for all of us.
Right.
Sure, and that's a big thing.
And Junior talked about your biggest win. Your dad again is kind of backed that by his persistence and pushing you to get checked on a health issue that you were dealing with. You want to kind of talk about that?
Yeah, so this is, probably the most significant thing that's ever happened to me. It's changed my entire life. It's what I talk about literally every single day. But in 2017, to give you some context, I had just left the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office. I had a great job, a stable job. I had just met the girl who's now my wife. We had gone on one date.
The girl of my dreams.
Yeah, we had gone on one date, and I started feeling stomach aches and started feeling ill, and
it's love. It's love.
That's what I thought it was. I hope that's what it was.
Right. The butterflies, right?
Yeah. And that was a part of it. But I realized that it wasn't really going away, and I was actually losing weight really rapidly. I was losing about 5 pounds per week without even doing anything to it. Most people want to do this.
Were you this size, or were you?
No, so I was about this size, but I ended up losing about 40 pounds in that process.
So you were this size and you were losing 5 pounds a week?
Yeah, I looked like a toothpick.
Jeez.
So what ended up happening was, as a guy, I was like, whatever, this is nothing. I'm just going to keep doing what I need to do. And I talked to my dad about it, and he's like, what are you talking about? You need to go, you're too young to be having this kind of pain all the time.
Yeah.
I was 31 at the time. So he said, you should go do a colonoscopy just to make sure. And I really didn't want to do that. If you guys know what a colonoscopy is, it's not a very fun experience.
No.
I've had one.
Yeah, so I went and did it. And when the doctor came and pulled the curtain over, it was at Beaumont, I swear I could tell he was going to tell me you have cancer. By the look on his face, by the seriousness that he had. And my mom was in the room. He comes in and he says, we need to talk.
Poor mama.
And my mom lost it. I mean, she was in shock with this news. Number one, because we have no history of cancer in our family.
Sure.
I'm 31 years old. I shouldn't be getting cancer at 31 years old, especially the type that I got, which is colon cancer. Immediately I left Beaumont, went to the University of Michigan for a second opinion. And when we got there, we went in front of something called a tumor board, which you guys might be familiar with. It's a group of doctors that come in, and they basically give 4 opinions about what they think is going on. And all 4 of those people said, you have cancer, it's stage 4 because it's in your lymph nodes, and we need to start right now. Now there's a symbolic thing that happened during this time, and I really do believe this is a God-driven thing. The day I got diagnosed with cancer was Holy Thursday in 2017. And obviously the passion of Christ is what we all look at every day. And from Holy Thursday to the following Easter, I battled cancer. I didn't tell anyone about it. I didn't think I needed to tell anyone about it. I just said I got to wake up every single day, put on my suit and tie, and fight. And as we're approaching Easter now,
you worked this whole time?
Yeah, so I never stopped. So one thing I asked these people,
He's Chaldean.
Yeah, right.
He's Chaldean. End of the day.
one thing I asked the doctors was, what's going to happen to me when I start getting treatment? Because the first thing you think of is I'm going to lose my hair. That's
Yeah.
the first thing that we're all concerned
Sure.
about.
Yeah.
As a young Chaldean man, I don't want to lose my hair.
Yes.
And they're like, you're not going to lose
But
your
you
hair.
will.
Yeah, eventually.
You're not gonna lose it
Eventually.
anyway.
Oh, you guys look pretty good. So
Well, I got a little scar back here
Do you?
from my situation. but
okay,
that
it
years
looks
ago.
good. It
Thank
looks
you.
great. But they're like, you're not going to lose your hair. You're not going to look any different. But what's going to happen is you're going to get really tired. So when I heard that, I said, all right, so I don't really have to tell anyone.
Yeah.
I'll just pretend like nothing's going on.
Oh my gosh.
And on my second date with my wife, girlfriend at the time, I went to Market North End in Birmingham. There was a 45-minute wait, and we sat down in the little bench out in the lobby,
Yeah.
and I said, I got to tell you something. I have cancer. And I thought she was going to run away. And she said, nope, whatever we need to do, let's do it. So that week, I literally decided I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go to court, I'm going to do the deportation cases. So I would wake up 6 o'clock in the morning, drive to U of M, get my chemo, leave U of M with a portable chemo pump, go to court with my chemo on me.
You drove yourself?
Every day. Now, it got a little bit rough toward the end, and I used to have, bless you, people doing it for me. But from really January 2017 till November, I was running the law firm. I was doing the deportation cases. There were days where I was going on the news, literally from the hospital bathroom, pretending like I was at home. And I would do the radio interviews. Then we started planning a wedding, and that was stressful. But if I didn't do all those things, I don't know if I would be here today. It was that stuff that kept me alive and kept me motivated.
So if I was ever charged with a crime, I'd want a judge like you that left no stone unturned and made sure that the justice was going to be served one way or another.
Yeah, I that's what I've been telling people, and that's why I'm running. The day that the deportation case happened, I was supposed to have my third round of chemo the next day. I ended up going instead to ICE headquarters on a Sunday night, the day before my chemo, and meeting people and talking to them. And then the next day, I was literally had my files, I got the chemo IV in me, and I'm sitting doing the work, trying to talk to people, trying to talk to Martin Mann in our community about what we can do. And that whole year was spent fighting very publicly on TV and then very privately in a hospital room.
Wow, good for you. Now I got a question for you so the viewers get to see this, but what gave you that courage to go through that fight every single day? Because it's easy to give up. So what was your drive?
It's a great question. I will tell you that the very first round of chemo I ever got felt horrible. I felt like I was actually going to die. In fact, I think I went to sleep that night of the first round of chemo believing I was going to die.
We're getting that.
Something that night happened. I don't really share it too publicly, but something kind of happened in me where I woke up in the middle of the night and I was really actually scared that I was about to die.
Maybe you didn't wake up? Maybe you dreamt this?
I don't know, but it was a personal experience that I had where I felt so scared that I was going to die that I woke up the next morning and said, I'm not going to die. And something changed in me that night.
Good for you.
And I woke up and I said, put on your suit, put on your coat. Now, a lot of people helped because without my wife, without my parents, without my sisters, they were the ones not letting me make excuses during this year. So if I told my wife, I'm too tired on Friday, I don't want to go out, she's like, get your jeans on. We're going to here, and my parents would take me out, and they'd do all these things. But the courage, I really think, came from that night where I thought I was going to die, and I was scared, and I instead woke up and said, I'm not going to die, I'm going to do this, and let me do it.
Good for you.
Well, so, just give me just...
Yeah, and I wish I could clap, but you know what I'm saying?
No, I don't think that I always make this joke that I didn't do anything, voluntarily here. I did it like anybody would have done it. If you, and we were talking off air of people that we know that are fighting cancer. In fact, Anthony, you were talking about doing everything you can for someone going through cancer. We do everything we can for the people we love. And when it's you dealing with it,
different.
All you can do is wake up and say, I'm going to do what I can because I don't want to let those people down.
Yeah.
I've now got a girlfriend. I can't let her down.
Yeah.
I have a law firm. I don't want to let those people down. I don't want to let the Chaldeans getting deported down. I don't want to let anyone down. So I'm going to fight and to not let them down.
I appreciate that statement heavily because I look at it in regards to it is it's unfair if we go through these moments to give up on our moments because there's somebody else who's fighting and losing the battle that would love to trade shoes with us.
Absolutely. And I was saying this before we went on the air here. One thing I always recommend to people if you're ever having a bad day, go to a hospital, sit in a hospital,
Yeah.
because they will. The people you'll see there will be having much worse days than whatever you're dealing with,
Yeah.
and it will give you perspective. When I was there, as bad as I was, especially when we got to like the 11th or 12th round of chemotherapy, when I was 40 pounds less, no hair, and I was dealing with what I was dealing with, I would see a 5-year-old walk down the hall with exactly the same situation and look at that person, and they were happier than anyone in the room because they're over here excited to ring the bell when you're done with chemo. They're excited because they're having clowns and Make-A-Wish Foundations there. And the innocence that you saw someone like that have reminded me, look, you can't, you need to grow up here. You need to remember you are blessed.
Yes. Yeah, it's just simply put, like you said, it's just not fair because there's always somebody struggling also more than we have. Your words of encouragement are huge. I mean, I'm glad we can see your personal side along with your love for your job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's going to go hand in hand. You want a good person sitting in that seat. You want somebody that's been there, done that, seen it, been it, struggled it, and fought for it.
You tasted the bitter, you tasted the sweet.
Absolutely.
You know where you want to be in life, and that's a huge thing. Sometimes you go through. I got people around us, and we all do that, have never ever faced it and just don't get how we fight every single day.
Absolutely.
But you keep pushing, you keep showing. You 100% have my vote.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'd love for the whole community to vote because I mentioned this earlier. One thing we do really well for Chaldean and elected officials is we raise a lot of money for people. One thing we don't do is actually vote. And it's important to get everyone, especially this year, because this is a crazy year as we're seeing with the presidential election.
Sure.
Absolutely.
We need to, going back to the point about why aren't we taken seriously as a community, until we start voting like a community, that's when we start getting taken seriously.
Exactly.
That's when our vote matters, when we all start getting out. And to have me on the ballot, I hope will usher more candidates and more people that come after me to do the same thing.
Sure. Once the signatures are in and everything, do you have events you want to let our people know?
So I'm going to tell you,
up?
thank you for mentioning that. So our kickoff, actually, and we're in the final stages of planning it, is going to be April 28th at Shenandoah.
Cool. Okay.
And I believe the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is going to be there for us that day, supporting me.
My man.
So April 28th, we'll be sending out invites soon. We're just finalizing some details. But I really believed it was important to be at Shenandoah because that's home for us. That's where we all came through at one point in some capacity, and then we'll expand to everywhere else. But April 28th is the first one.
Awesome. We'll be there.
Is there anything else you want to mention or that we may have forgotten to ask you about that you want to share with the viewers?
No, I just think that it's so important for us to be engaged. Every Chaldean that runs paves the way for another person.
Yes.
And I look at judges that we already have in our community and elected officials. I'm here because they paved the way. I'm here because our parents paved the way.
Sure.
And we are doing this not just for ourselves. I'll be honest, I could make a lot more money not being a judge.
Yeah.
I have a great law firm right now. I'm doing this because I have had this life experience, and I want to be an example for our children one day to be able to look and say, I want to be like Clarence, or I want to be like this person, or I want to be like this person. Junior, Anthony, and maybe this podcast will develop into even something more than it already developed, and it's already a really great thing.
Thank you.
So keep doing it.
Thanks.
You're younger than I am, and I want to be Clarence.
No, don't
want to be younger, Junior.
No, I'm saying just for your accolades,
really,
everything you've been in, so.
But keep doing what you're doing because this is the only way
you.
people know about us and hear about us, and you have great people that come on all the time.
We're trying.
Thank you.
So we do close out every show with a question, and the question is, what does it mean to you to be Chaldean?
Well, it's really everything for me because when you look the way you do growing up and you're not necessarily in the majority, you start figuring out that that's who you are.
Yeah.
We talked about all three of us learning Arabic before we learned English.
Right.
And to now you'd be able, or Chaldeans. Or Chaldean.
Yeah.
But this community is what I grew up knowing. Before anything, it was my parents speaking Arabic to me and Chaldean to me. My family still lives in Iraq, by the way. I mean, my dad's family is still there.
Yeah.
We're calling them every Sunday, talking to them. It's everything who I am.
What part do they live in?
They're in Baghdad.
In Baghdad?
They're in Baghdad.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
And they don't want to leave.
And you do speak fluent Arabic.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
That's a great plus.
I do, and they would get mad at me if I didn't, because then I couldn't communicate with them.
Right.
But knowing what our community has been through, not only abroad, but here in the United States with the deportation crisis, I know that being Chaldean means having to fight. And I fought for our community when I was doing it legally, but I also fought when I was doing my own personal stuff. And that mindset, that Chaldean mindset, is what drives me every day.
Beautiful.
And you'll always fight for justice.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's
Thank you.
awesome having you. And in closing, so you heard it from our former Oakland County prosecutor and our soon-to-be County Circuit Court Judge, Clarence Dass here. I mean, the man's great. He's given up plenty of information from personal and from business experience. And I think we all have to support him. There shouldn't be a if. It's a definitely we must. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll, if anybody wants to know where to be able to sign those signatures, you're welcome to reach out to Anthony, myself. I'm sure Clarence's office itself has the ability to get that out to you guys too. And I mean, he came here prepared with the clipboard, so he's got it with
You'll
him
see him
anywhere
around.
he goes. Yeah, so you see him
Nonstop.
around. He's going to have that. He's a hardworking man. He works for us, for the community. He puts his time into it. We even had someone in the audience today here to watch him. That's how special he is. So just so you know, just so you guys know, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button on Keeping Up with the Chaldeans for our YouTube channel. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, all the social media platforms. We're out there and available. We hope to see you guys at the April 28th event at Shenandoah. We hope to see you guys all out there. And like he said, the most impactful statement he made is we all come together when it comes to donating money. We all come together when it comes time for trouble and issues. We got to continue it by voting. Voting's your right, so make sure you vote this man in, and let's see him on that seat. Signing off, I'm Junior Binno, Anthony Toma, and our main man, Clarence Dass here. We'll see you guys.